so this is the fisheries lab, and we have activities that contain both capture fisheries and aquaculture. But the work here is focused on capture fisheries. When we talk about capture fisheries, mean the one you go into the open water and then you throw nets to catch. But aquaculture is where you confine them and then you grow them to table size. So in here, we do research into the fish production, their conditions in the water, the feeding habits. So all this information guides us on how to make our systems more productive. Now in here, we have a museum where we keep samples of fish. We have students from the universities coming to study here. Over here, I mean, you can count the number of bottles. There are hundreds of fish samples in here. So normally, if you want to identify a fish, we come in here, we'll pick a sample, and then we have characteristics that we look out for. And then by that, you can be able to identify. Because usually for us, when we go to the field, we should be able to identify the fish we find in the field. We don't bring them to the lab. We do everything in the field. So the technicians or whoever is working, the scientists should have all the names at his fingertips. So some of these things have been preserved since the 1980s, and we continue to collect anytime we are in the field. And then behind you, we have a number of fishing nets, which we use for research. Now, depending on the type of research that we do, and then depending on the size of the water body, we have pest seines, we have gill nets, we have cast nets, we have drag nets. And so whichever the research is, we have a net that we would use for it. And over here, for also preservation, it's part of the museum, is the manatee, which is also referred to as commonly called the sea cow. This is from the lake, and it's been here for over 20 years. It's been preserved. It was a live fish when it came, but it's been preserved. And people think it's, yes, but no, it's a proper fish that has been preserved, and it's been here for several years. And this is just to show what is available in the lake. A lot of these samples are from various water bodies in the country. So when you look at, you can pick a sample and then you see, for instance, when you look at this bottle, for instance, this was collected in 2013, and we have from the lower Volta Lake, and it's Hemichromis fasciatus. So any student who comes in there can just pick the studies. When you go to the field and you see it, you can identify it. So it's a place for studying. Yeah. Tilapia, like any fish, is high in protein, animal protein. And it's you know, across the world, it's one of the cheapest fish, but Ghana is not, maybe because of our cost of production. But it's a very healthy fish, which we encourage everybody to take. And the reason why it's also commonly cultured is because it's very hardy. It's able to tolerate even waters with quite, relatively polluted waters. Of course, when it's very bad, it will survive, but then compared to other species, it can tolerate a wide range of water quality characteristics. So that makes it very suitable, and it grows very fast also. Currently, in fact, we're working on a project. We have messed up our system a bit because of importation of illegal importation of live fish. I think the farmers wanted something that was growing much faster than what we have. And in trying to achieve that, they managed to smuggle in fish from other countries. But that has sort of affected the whole aquaculture system in Ghana now. We've had mortalities taking place in several farms, which some of the even smaller farms have had to fold up as a result. Now the thing is, what is the way forward? Because currently we have fish that we don't really know much about, because they've mixed the local strains with the imported strains. So normally you need to know the fish to be able to develop it. And so that has brought us to a kind of a standstill, but we are working on it. And end of this month, we'll have a workshop, meet some stakeholders, and decide the way forward. Should we, Ghana has the policy of not allowing the importation of live fish. But with the system, or with the situation we have now, we are considering the possibility or bringing in something that we can study or that we know with pure strains that we can move forward. Then what we also aspiring to do in the future, years back, all these samples were here because we were studying the fisheries in our rivers a lot. But because of poor funding, now we are not able to do it, but that's what we want to take up in the next steps, especially with the galamsey and then its effects on our water bodies. We intend to go back to some of these rivers and lakes to see what the situation is now. And it's our next thing we're looking for funding for. So once we get it, we'll go back and see and compare what existed previously and what we have now. So those are some of our things that we're looking forward to.